Hello, welcome to Eye on Africa. I'm Georgia Calvin-Smith, and tonight the northeastern Nigerian town of Malamfatori is bombed and Boko Haram militants reportedly forced out. Some confusion remains, though. Nigeria says its planes launched the raid. Witnesses say Chadian aircraft were involved. The Congolese army decides to go it alone in launching a military offensive against Rwandan Hutu rebels from the FDLR movement who failed to heed deadlines to voluntarily disarm. UN troops have long been ready to jump in, but appears to have been sidelined by Kinshasa. And ahead of his unveiling at Paris Haute Couture Fashion Week, I speak to Cameroonian-born designer Marshall Tapolo. His hands-on approach has seen his international reputation go from strength to strength. First up, Nigerian Boko Haram extremists have reportedly been forced out of a town on the border with Niger. Fighter jets bombed Malamfatori as part of the pushback against the insurgents' bloody rampage across the northeast of the country. While the threat has fast become of regional concern, at the African Union's annual summit due to kick off in Addis Ababa tomorrow, the issue will be central to talks. Chad's president has told France 24 in advance of that African governments have to take the lead in tackling the insurgency.
We can't always ask the United Nations to intervene in Africa to solve problems. We can't always ask France or another European nation to solve our problems. Africa has the capacity to do this. It has the means and the troops. It's a question of will. We, African leaders, must discuss this. We must see which capacities we can share, so that we can face up to these huge challenges.
Well, there has been some confusion over whose planes bombed Malamfatori. Nigerian defense spokesperson Chris Olukolade says that it was the Nigerian military, but Abuja has neither confirmed nor denied witnesses' claims that troops and air force from Chad were involved. Our Aminu Abubakar tells us more.
According to sources in Niger, mostly in Boso and Difa on the border with Nigeria, Chadian jets carried out air bombardments on Malamfatori, seized by Boko Haram several months ago. The attack began Wednesday morning and continued up to the evening of the same day. From information coming in from these sources in these two Nigerian towns, Chadian forces took over Malamfatori from Boko Haram. Although the defense spokesman said that the air bombardments were carried out by Nigerian fighter jets, but he said that Chadian troops were part of the multinational task force, including Nigeria and Chad. But last month, Olukolade confirmed that Chadian and Nigerian troops withdrew from the multinational alliance in November. So it will be very surprising that now Chadian troops are involved with Nigeria in the fight against Boko Haram.
Aminu Abubakar there for us in Kano. Well, in Democratic Republic of Congo, the army's announced that it's launching an offensive against Rwandan Hutu rebels from the FDLR group. The country's faced heavy international pressure to follow through with the threat of military action after the rebels missed several deadlines to disarm. The offensive announced on Thursday, however, will not involve troops from the UN's MONUSCO operation. Melanie Gubi is in Goma for us. She joins us now. Melanie, this is a surprising change of plan. Why is the Congolese army going it alone?
Absolutely. So the UN had been planning the operation since the ultimatum had expired and the FDLR clearly have refused to disarm. The MONUSCO, the UN employees I've been talking to had clearly talked about this operation as UN operation that would involve Congolese troops, but the announcement made this morning seems to show a complete reversal of situation. Kinshasa is clearly taking the lead, and the Congolese army will be leading this operation with only logistical and operational support from the UN. So it's very unclear whether UN troops will be involved at all. In recent months, Kabila had been very intent on making sure that he asserted presidential power and sovereignty of its country and playing down the UN role or even the necessity of a peacekeeping mission at all in Congo.
Thanks very much. Melanie Gubi there for us in Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, African production studios are starting to stake their claim to a share of the multi-billion-euro global video game market. Now, there's already Kuluya Studios in Nigeria, Leti Games in Ghana, and Kola Studios in Uganda. Well, Cameroon hosts the first Central African gaming studio. After 10 years of work, Kiro'o Games is about to release its first labour of love. Let's take a look.
It's the story of the Prince of Zama, overthrown in a coup during his coronation. To help him regain his throne, the player must accompany the prince on a journey filled with initiation rituals. The concept, inspired by role-playing games relatively unknown in Africa, plans to jumpstart the universe of African fantasy games.
We use elements from our culture and highlight the beauty of Africa, the beauty of our landscapes, our values, habits, and behaviors. And we add a lot of fantasy to ensure that we set the tone of a video game, but so that you can also feel the difference, so you can say, this is new, we've never seen this is African.
In 2003, Olivier Madiba, a student at the time, set himself the challenge of designing video games that Africans could identify with.
I've dreamt about it for 10 years. Setting up a video games production studio in Cameroon is a crazy gamble.
Today, Kiro'o Games employs around 20 animators and programmers, the first generation of video game professionals in Cameroon. A pioneer in its field, the company was able to see the light of day thanks to equity crowdfunding, a finance model that's still rare on the continent, but allows people to donate money to projects of their choice through online digital platforms.
It's a model that can be used for all African information technology and communication projects. Because if one goes through the normal financing channels, there's not really, especially in Central Africa, there aren't that many venture capitalists. This model is about people from the diaspora or even people from abroad who want to participate in the new African success stories. We have this responsibility since we're the first to say if it succeeds, it will open the way for an entire industry on this continent.
It's an industry that often falls victim to piracy in Africa, but in the community of gamers in Yaoundé, the release of the first 100% Cameroonian game is eagerly awaited and promises to change habits.
As it's the very first one, if it's well done and it represents our culture, well, it will be used by everyone.
Just for the adventure, to search for what we can identify with in this game. We will find a way to buy the game.
The verdict will be out in early April when Orion, the legacy of Koryodon, will be available to the public for download.
Well, Marshall Tepolo is a Paris-based fashion designer originally from Cameroon. He's kindly taken the time out to see us. Now, the Hands-On Creators' first ever collection won first prize at the Douala Fashion Festival of Young Designers, and 10 collections on his reputation is fast gathering international momentum. He's now preparing to unveil his latest inspirations for Paris Fashion Week Haute Couture. He's on set with us now. Thanks very much for coming in, Marshall.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, one of the first things I noticed was that you are very hands-on. You make sure that you are involved from the beginning to the end, from paper to getting that dress onto the catwalk.
Exactly.
Are you a control freak?
Yeah, but I love the job. I mean, it's a passion. I started to do it because I love to touch the stuff, to touch the material. It's a passion, you know. It's like building something. It's like giving birth to a baby, like fixing it from the beginning to the end. So that's the reason why I want to feel the thing from the beginning to the end. I want to prepare it. I want to construct it and feel every sense, every move till it happens, you know. Till it's like from the muse, you know, to the reality. I want to build this reality with my own arms, with my own heart, you know.
Oh, well, let's have a look at one of your babies now. The beautiful Marianne is going to come and display one of your creations. Can you describe a bit about what is the thinking behind this particular creation?
And this is from a casual collection I did, you know, for it's a little black dress, you know, a bit fancy with some tulle and some sequins, you know, just like a bit of femininity to express femininity, but all in dark, all in black, but still fancy, you know, with this attach in front. That's all, you know. It's like a woman feeling modern but still fancy.
I mean, it's quite a classic look. I mean, obviously a lot of beautiful detailing, but you are a Cameroonian-born designer. For you, is having some kind of reflection of the African heritage in your designs particularly important?
Yeah, it's important. The thing is that I'm Cameroonian, I'm African, you know, it shows, it already shows enough, I think, you know. But now I think we're living in 2015, we're living in, you know, in a new world where everything is mixed, you know, in a mixed world. And Africanity, it doesn't have to be shown by an African, you know. You just show the things the way you feel it. I mean, just the fact that I'm doing it makes it African. No need to promote, you know, like, I mean, by the way, what is African today? Because when we talk about, sometimes we talk about wax print. Wax print is not African. It's from Holland, you know, or from Germany. It's not African. It's a whole long debate, you know, to tell what is originally or really African or what is not African. The thing is that we just have to do what we love. We have to promote ourselves as the way we are. We have to, you know, I'm African. I love Africa. I love my culture. When it happens to tell the story of African queens, I tell it in some collections. When I want to do my job, I do it like a designer. That's all. I do it for every lady that feels beautiful. Sometimes that could feel like the touch of African inspiration, sometimes not. Sometimes like just a touch of a good designer, you know, like a good fashion dress, like a good trendy dress.
And Marion, you worked quite closely with Marshall. What's he like to be around as a creative?
So I tell you something. I saw the collection from Marcel. I'm very impressed. It's so amazing. And I'm very proud for Marshall because I produced the fashion show. And why I chose Marshall because she is one of the designers of Africa. Is very, very, very amazing. And when we talk to Marshall, and I say, why not? You know, now it's the fashion week here, haute couture in Paris, and it's one of the best.
So you clearly got a fan here. But just quickly, because unfortunately we're running out of time, what made you take the leap into design? Because you're self-taught.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I had the gift. I have the gift from my childhood. I was drawing, you know. I was really linked to art and everything that's, you know, in culture, all these stuffs. So I think I was like, from the beginning, I was meant to be that, you know, to do something, to be maybe, I don't know, something else. But
Marshall, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you off there. But obviously, you were meant to be a designer because your reputation has preceded you. And thank you so much for coming on. Marianne, beautiful dress. Thank you very much for coming in as well.
Thank you.
Your designs will be unveiled at Paris Haute Couture from Friday, I believe.
And I just want to say thank you for Bacana event for promoting artists and designers, you know, for giving this opportunity.
Well, that's it for Africa News. Eye on Africa. Stay with us, so short break and more coming up. Really? No.